Hello everyone, my name is Rafal and welcome to my vlog. First of all, I hope you guys had fantastic holiday season. It's not over yet, there's still New Year's Eve. I will be spending my New Year's Eve at home. I have a little one who is 4, so I'm kind of off the hook for the next few years for any parties. But at the same time, I do have my family from Poland and Canada, so I'm super excited because I don't really have a chance to see them during the year. So this is the only time during the year where we can can spend together and you know, just basically enjoy ourselves. So that's kind of super happy. Also, I had a little bit of time on my hands, so basically I dove into my social media recently and I started kind of a little bit more engaging with my audience and viewers. I actually also read a lot of messages I've got. And there's one thing which kind of hit me, and that's why I'm dedicating this vlog, and this is the kind of something what I would like to talk about it. And one of the most common questions I've been receiving is about kind of repetition of my work, and a lot of people are saying like, well, you're doing kind of the same thing over and over again. You know, your images look similar. You're changing a little bit the background, a little bit of the posing, but you know, the images pretty much look the same. On the same note, people are saying that, you know, they're getting bored when they kind of see after a while my images, and then, you know, after seeing, I don't know, 10-20 images, you know, there's nothing new, there's nothing kind of interesting, and just basically, you know, there's nothing exciting for them to kind of just look for when it comes to my images. Another kind of common note I've been getting is that people are saying, well, you kind of got to some kind of level and you're there, you know, like you're not moving forward, you're kind of doing the same thing over and over again. And from one hand, you know, as every photographer, we're getting kind of frustrated when we're receiving those kind of informations and emails from your viewers. But that also kind of, I just want to understand this a little bit more and try to understand their way of thinking, and also I'm trying to kind of apply this to my way of thinking and why I'm kind of doing the same thing over and over again. And I put, again, some thoughts into it. I kind of try to analyze this a little bit more, understand it a little bit better, and I want to share that with you because I think most of us at some point everybody will hit that kind of wall, and then we have to kind of somehow make sense out of this, and we have to find the reason why we do what we do. And this is something what, again, I just want to discuss, and I make like a list of several different things which I would try to kind of convince you guys and try to share my thoughts on this topic. And I think what I found is quite interesting. So let me start with saying that I deeply believe that most of us photographers, we need to somehow focus on one thing and one thing only. If we start doing many different things, and then, you know, we start following different genres of photography, we're gonna have a really hard time to specialize in one thing. And then I personally don't know many or like even any photographer who, you know, become known for, you know, 5 different genres of photography. For example, like, I don't know who is, you know, someone who is specialist in, you know, architecture and also street photographer, or, you know, shooting weddings and, you know, shooting, for example, landscape. So I deeply believe that when you have this one thing and you just focus on one genre of photography, then you really can put your entire thoughts, your focus on this one thing, and you can kind of specialize in this whole thing. And that's what I've done. I love headshots. I really love what I do, and again, you know, I'm gonna try to get to some conclusions, but personally I'm not getting kind of bored what I do. Even the images, they look familiar, they look similar. I still enjoy every photo shoot, and I enjoy everything what I do. So the next thing what I want to talk about it is that if you focus on this one particular genre of photography, on this one, let's say in my case, headshot photography, I found that I don't have to fight with competition too much, because you know, when you actually doing one thing, if you specialize in one type of photography, you know, your circle of competition getting much smaller. And I'm not saying you have to outbeat your competition, but you know, there's completely different dynamics between, you know, those people. And also what I found, especially in headshot photography, and which was also quite surprise for me, that headshot photographers were really helpful. I didn't experience that in wedding photography, because I found there's kind of cutthroat competition and nobody shared anything, nobody kind of shared information. I don't know nowadays how this whole thing works, but I realized back in the days, whenever I ask anybody for any help, usually I was getting big fat no. While when I jump into the headshot photography, I realized, and you know, like I was quite surprised that a lot of those top-notch photographers, they were willing to help, they were willing to share their experience, they were willing to give you a hand, and then guide you a little bit. So that was something which was kind of surprising. But I actually went a little bit off the topic, and as I said, if you specialize in one type of photography, then you can really work together with the people who specialize in the same thing, and you guys can share the business, you guys can help each other, and you guys can completely kind of grow your career, and you can grow, as I said, your business on completely different level. And I found that it's really important, and this is really, I would say, also based on what I do. I found when I have this one thing, it's a completely different way of dealing with things. On another note, and this is actually from the client perspective, what I found, if you do one thing and you specialize in one type of photography, then you are known for that type of photography. Because I have clients who coming to me for headshots. I'm not having clients who coming to me and they want to shoot weddings, or they want to shoot product photography or landscape or whatever. And also that kind of makes my life easier, because when clients come to me, I know what I can offer, I know how to help them, I know how to deal with them, I know what they're looking for the most part. But if you know, you're doing all those crazy different things, you know, clients might come in with completely different needs, and then what happens is, you know, you might not be ready to do those projects, and then you basically just shooting yourself in the foot, because you challenging yourself with things which you've never done before. There's most likely you're gonna screw this up. And that's why also, on another note, I think when you doing this one thing and you specialize it and you're an expert and you know what you're doing, it's going to be much easier for you, and you're going to be much more successful. So that's another reason why I've decided to just kind of follow this one thing, and then just specializing, and then kind of understanding this from all the aspects and all the angles. On the same note, and this is what I just mentioned, if you can focus on one thing, you can definitely, as I said, look at this whole thing from completely different angles and focus on all the aspects. That's extremely important, because especially I found whatever type of photography you're doing, and then let's kind of look at my example as a headshot photographer. It's not just, you know, it's just the lighting or gear you're having. Headshot photography has a lot of different components, and you have to be good at all of them. And I think a lot of people forget about it, because most of us think that, well, it's a headshot photographer, what's the big deal out of this? And I also didn't know how much is involved in this whole thing till I really started specializing into this whole thing, and I started learning this whole thing and discovering new things. And sometimes, you know, I had to learn things which I didn't even expect I have to learn. So that's something which is extremely important, and I think a lot of people have to realize, even if you do one thing and if you're specializing in one type of photography, there's so much to learn. There's so much to you which you have to understand, you have to master, you have to you know, touch, and then basically figure it out how this whole thing's gonna work. So what I want to say also, that sometimes, you know, things looks easy to do, and I'm gonna be talking in the details about it in a few seconds. But you know, just because something looks is easy to do and it seems like someone is doing it, like, well, it's not a big of a deal, you don't realize that actually these people have to learn a lot to master this craft and, you know, do all those things properly. So having said that, you know, in headshot photography or any type of different photography types, there's always something to improve. And also, again, this is something which I didn't even realize back in the days, but even today, I think you know, I am some kind of you know, on a little bit higher level in this headshot photography industry, but I have so much to learn. And I think the more we know, then we also realize how much more we have to learn. And even today, you know, even if I feel confident about what I do, but there's always challenges, there's always something to improve, there's always different clients, there's always different challenges. So I don't really feel that I kind of hit the level where I'm 100% confident about everything what I do. There's always that little tiny portion of insecurity, something that I don't know, I have to figure out, I don't know how this whole thing is gonna work. So that's why I think this is another important part, that I don't feel bored of what I do, because even though I feel confident about what I do, I still know that there's still something to learn, there's always something to figure it out, and there will always going to be something which I'm not going to be sure about it, and I'm going to have to figure something out. There's another aspect which a lot of people are asking about, kind of the same setup. I'm using the same gear, I'm using the same equipment, and I don't buy anything new. And you know, this is kind of, I would say, conscious decision I've made several years ago. I didn't want to be distracted by the gear. I didn't want to be distracted on focusing on, you know, like, oh, which next camera do I need, or how this camera is going to improve. I deeply believe that equipment what I have, and it's not kind of, it's not something which is super old, but I still think that everything what I own and what I have, I still didn't figure out 100%. Also the gear what I'm using, I deeply believe that there's something which is, there's still something to learn, there's still something to figure it out, there's still things which I can improve and do. So I don't feel limited by my equipment, but I feel that everything what I do, they still have some potential. There's still something which I can do, and I can try new things. So there's, I don't feel like I'm kind of hit the limit, and you know, now I need something else. So on another thing, I deeply believe that we have to some kind of separate it, you know, chasing the gear and chasing the ideas, and this is what I'm trying to do right now. I think the gear what I have allows me to do a lot of things, even more, but in my opinion, I just want to focus more on, you know, using this equipment, creating new things, figure out new stuff with it. Again, I don't want to kind of jump into this conversation, because we could talk about it forever, but the main reason I'm not changing anything at this point, because I don't feel I hit, you know, the limit or something which stops me to creating something new. I think that there's still way more to discover and try, and I didn't figure out this whole thing yet, and I will probably never will figure it out, but you know, I don't really feel limited. So the last thing what I would like to talk about, and this is one of the most important part of this vlog, is I really believe in repetition, and I really believe that doing the same kind of thing over and over again is gonna make you at what you're doing. And I know that sounds boring, and this is kind of sounds kind of like, you know, some people might say that, okay, you know what, I don't want to go that path. But if you look at any, I would say, not even genres of photography, but any other profession, if you look at athletes, or you look at musicians, or you look at I don't know, any medical professions, these people, they do the same thing over and over again. If you look at any major or known basketball player, you know, these people do the same thing over and over and over again. And if you would ask them, like, are you not getting bored throwing that ball to that hoop, you know, a million times a day? But you know, that's what they do, and that's what they master. That's what they trying to, I would say, figure it out, and becoming this whole thing becoming their second nature. The same musicians, you know, they practice and practice and practice hours and hours, and they do the same thing over and over again. And I have the same belief, and even, you know, those things again, and it seems like, you know, I'm just kind of repeating myself at this point, but what I want to say is that just doing the same thing over and over again makes you this whole thing you understand this whole thing better, you do this better, and you know, from someone who is from outside, you know, looks easy, that what you do, it's kind of like, okay, it's not a big of a deal. But you know, they don't, if they would have to do the same thing, they probably would never have done it the same way. They would probably be much worse at it. So that's why I do the same thing over and over again, because I see this whole thing from completely different angle. And this is also becoming, I want this whole thing to becoming my kind of second nature. And that's what my clients appreciate. You know, I can shoot headshots on any location. I can, you know, deliver always good quality images. Doesn't matter where I shoot, doesn't matter what kind of person I'm working with. Even though, you know, from someone who is from outside, this whole thing might look, you know, it's easy breezy to do it, but I've put a lot of work onto this. I've shot hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of headshot sessions to, you know, kind of be where I am today, and that's what is extremely important. So I hope that was interesting. I hope that made kind of sense for you guys. Kind of summarizing this whole thing, I really appreciate that people kind of throw that at me, because that kind of make me to think about it a little bit more, and I dove into this kind of thoughts about this whole thing, and now I understand this way more better. I know that I still enjoy what I do, even this whole thing looks similar. I still believe that there's still lots to learn, in my opinion. There's still lots to improve, and you know, at some point, I hope, you know, like, I will get to the level where I'm gonna be feeling about this whole thing even more confident. But at this time, I just keep want to continue what I do, because I know there's still lots to improve and learn. And again, I'm not getting bored. Trust me, this is the last thing. I could do this every single day, and I could shoot with many, you know, different people, and I still know that there will be something new, something interesting. And even though those images look similar, they look kind of, you know, kind of the same, some people might say, but I see the difference. I see that I'm improving my work, and maybe at this point I'm improving by very small things, where people don't kind of see it, but I see those things. And I wish that everyone could hit that, I would say, a level of their photography where they can kind of see those very tiny, you know, differences, because that's what's kind of improve, and that's what kind of takes us better. I think it's different when you're starting off, because then you're just kind of taking a huge turn and you're just getting better much quicker. But I think at some point this whole process is kind of much slower, and then you have to work much harder to see even tiny results. Okay, I hope that was again interesting. I hope this was not boring for you guys. Thank you for listening to this whole thing. I wish you guys fantastic, again, holiday season. I will try to talk to you guys before New Year's Eve and do one more vlog. But in the meantime, if you guys have any photo shoots, good luck, and then we'll be in touch very, very shortly. Thank you for watching. Stay tuned, and I'll be right back with you guys with another vlog.